Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and welcome to this press conference with Minister Yoo Myung-hee of Korea. Before giving Minister Yoo the floor, a few housekeeping points. This press conference involves journalists who are participating in person and also via WebEx. If you are participating via WebEx and would like to ask a question, please raise your hand by pressing the icon at the bottom of the screen. I would also be very grateful if all journalists would please identify themselves and their news organizations before taking the floor. Interpretation in the room will be provided in English, French, and Spanish. The complete bio for Minister Yoo is available now on the WTO website, and the statement she has just delivered to the General Counsel will be on the site very soon. Minister Yoo will give a brief opening statement, and then we will take your questions. We have precisely 30 minutes for this press conference. Minister Yoo, you have the floor, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for taking the time to be here. It's an honor to participate as a candidate in this selection process. The WTO is at a crossroads, facing a trust deficit. My vision for the WTO is to rebuild trust in the multilateral trading system by making it more relevant, resilient, and responsive. 3 R's. First, relevant. The WTO needs to be more relevant, keep evolving in light of this changing economic realities in the 21st century. 2 key priorities are first, revitalizing the negotiating function, and also second, restore the dispute settlement system. Second, resilient. A fundamental objective of the WTO should be to promote sustainability and inclusiveness, especially with an emphasis on development, to remain resilient as a champion of open trade for the next 25 years and beyond. Third, responsive. The WTO needs to be more responsive to global challenges and contingencies for the benefit of all its members. I will bring the experience and expertise that I have built up in my 25-year career in trade to act as an effective, trusted, and informed facilitator to rebuild trust in the WTO and the multilateral trading system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll start with questions from the floor. Yes, please, Bryce.
Bryce Bashik, Bloomberg News. Thank you for taking questions today. South Korea was one of several nations that negotiated a deal with the United States to avoid steel and aluminum tariffs. What is your position on voluntary export restraints, and do you believe countries should be free to engage in this practice? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. The VEI issue that you just asked. Well, I would say that the VEI, according to the WTO agreements, is not allowed anymore. It's prohibited under the WTO agreement. But as far as I know, that the U.S. has taken this issue invoking national security clause section 232. So that case is, I believe, under dispute here at the WTO. So I would refrain myself from commenting on the ongoing dispute settlement cases.
If I could follow up, what is your view on whether national security cases should be addressed here at the WTO?
Still, because it is the ongoing cases at the WTO, I would just say that our members seem to have different views on that. Some members would think that national security, the Section 232 cases, and also national security exception under the WTO should not be dealt at the WTO because it's the members' right to invoke it. But others think that still the panel or the WTO could look into whether they meet these certain criteria, conditions under the article. So having said that, because it is still an ongoing cases, I would just not say that I'm well aware of divergent views of the members on that issue. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a question here, please.
Thank you. The question. This is Rintaro, Nikkei Japanese media. My question is WTO dispute settlement body. U.S. has long refused to appoint the appointed body member, and so that they are missing right now. And as a result, it is almost dysfunctional. So I don't see any prospect of solution. So if you get elected as next DG, how are you going to solve this problem? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, I'm well aware of very divergent views on the nature or role of the appellate body, and also since the appellate body has ceased to function, the dispute settlement system is now on the verge of paralysis. Having said that, I still think that members have a shared understanding on the need of a two-tier dispute settlement mechanism. So how to actually improve the current system to meet the very divergent views from the members. I would suggest that if I have the honor to serve as the next DG, I would accelerate members' consultations in various configurations to find a consensus way to effectively and also permanently resolve this question, this issue. Thank you.
The next question, please, for Hao Kian of SINA. Kian, you have the floor, please.
Good afternoon, madam. I'm from Chinese media, Sina.com. I have two questions for you. The first one is, how hard do you think if you need to make a career switch from a minister to a single nation to an international trade organization such as WTO? And we know it's a very tough competition here. Have you ever been challenged for not have lived overseas or not have already worked for an international organization this time? Thank you.
Thank you for the two questions. The first one, how hard it would be to change from Minister of Korea to the DG of the international organization such as WTO. I would say that I am in the actually best position to understand all members' concerns and interests at the WTO. As I mentioned before, I have been I have built up my career in trade in the Korean government for the last 25 years, and I personally witnessed Korea grow from one of the less developed countries to become one of the largest trading nations through multilateral trading system. So I believe that all the other members should have the same opportunities that Korea could enjoy for its economic development. Because during my lifetime, I have been on every stage of different economic developments, and also I have witnessed my country go through every stage of different development. During the process, we have had our successes, but also we have had our setbacks, and we've learned lessons from every stage of development. Because of my diverse experience in 25 years career in the Korean government at every stage of development, I believe I'm in a better position to understand different concerns and interests from all other members at the WTO. That's my question for my transition to the DG for international organization. Second question, actually, I was posted to Korean embassy in Beijing for 3 years. And also I was posted to APEC Secretariat in Singapore for 3.5 years. So have lived abroad and also have worked at international organizations. So I will not have any problem in living abroad and working for the international organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take a question from Laurent, and then we'll go to WebEx. So Laurent, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Laurent Siro, Swiss News Agency. You mentioned the tensions around the dispute settlement body. Your country is not among the countries that are part of that interim mechanism that was recently launched. If you become the next DG, do you fear that there might be a risk that that mechanism become in a way permanent? And how do you think you might act in order to tackle that? Thank you.
Yes, I understand why some countries, willing countries and members have agreed on MPIA. The WTO's appellate body function has ceased to function, and we have now only one stage dispute settlement system, the panel stage. That's why some willing members have agreed on MPIA to overcome the vacuum at the impasse at the appellate body. Having said that, I still believe that we should focus on finding permanent and effective resolution of the dispute settlement function, because this is still interim and temporary agreement and has only 20-something members, not all the 164 members. So if I became the next DG, I would work together closely with members to reconcile different views on the nature and role of the dispute settlement and appellate body function, and can find a way to effectively and permanently resolve the current problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's now go to WebEx, and the next question is for Hannah Monacan from Inside U.S. Trade. Hannah, you have the floor, please.
Hello, Minister. Hannah Monacan with Inside U.S. Trade. South Korea considers itself at the WTO a developing country, but has also said it will forego special and differential treatment in future negotiations. What is your view of this issue of special and differential treatment, and how has Korea's trajectory informed your view of this issue, which has a lot of divergent opinions across the membership?
Thank you for the question. SNDT, special and differential treatment. First, I would like to state the obvious, the Marrakesh Agreement. Marrakesh Agreement provides that we should ensure developing countries and less developed countries secure their share in growth in global trading system. Having said that, how to actually ensure them to have their share in the growth. Members have different views, divergent views on whether we should actually strengthen SNDT to make it more effective and operational, or whether we should reclassify the countries into developing or developed. In that situation, what Korea has done is we have had intensive discussions and consultations with domestic stakeholders and also relevant ministries on that issue. And what we have decided is that the world has changed, and also countries have changed. The category of developing or developed, or the country's level of economic development is not fixed, is not static. So we decided to take on more responsibility commensurate with our economic weight in the global trading system. So I believe still LDC, least developed countries, need assistance from the WTO. We have to provide much needed assistance to the LDC countries so that they can fully integrate into the multilateral trading system. And having said that, developing countries, when they are capable enough to do that and they are ready to do that, it's ideal for them to take on more responsibilities commensurate with their level of economic development. Still, but in terms of the approach at the WTO, I believe it's a very contentious issue and we have not reached consensus on that. So given that we still need to further discuss these issues to reach consensus, it would be more conducive to use practical approach so that those countries, depending on the agreements or type of obligations, so that those countries can take on more responsibilities commensurate with their level of economic development in a practical way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to stay with WebEx, and Minister, we're going to go to Buenos Aires. A question from Florencia Carboni of Trade News in BA. Florencia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Keith. Good evening. Thank you, Minister. I want to know, trust is a concept that all candidates have referred to until now. How can confidence be restored amidst growing protectionism and attacks on multilateralism? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, as you mentioned, everyone is talking about the trust deficit, but the issue is how to build trust deficit. First, I would like to highlight the experience and expertise that I have built in discussing and negotiating deals with many diverse countries around the world, not only with the US and China, but also with all the a lot of ASEAN countries and also LDC countries and developing countries and developed countries. I know what it takes to negotiate, and I know what it takes to bring negotiations to a closure. So based on my experience, expertise, and also trust that I have built with other trade ministers around the world, I'm confident I could earn the confidence and trust from the members and from the other countries and work together to find a tangible outcomes. Having said that, it's hard to actually translate that into the reality. So I would like to highlight the importance of the success at MC12. Success breeds success. If we can achieve even a small, modest success at the upcoming MC12, for example, the multilateral trade agreements on fisheries subsidies. We have not produced multilateral trade agreements for the last 25 years, except for TFA. But if we can now agree on multilateral trade agreements on fisheries subsidies at the MC12, this success would actually could show to the world that WTO is relevant and also could generate a political will and build momentum to tackle and address further more difficult structural issues. So to actually build trust, I would focus on achieving the first success, even though it is modest and small, but I believe in the power of the success, and I will make almost efforts to achieve tangible outcomes at MC12. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll go to the floor. The gentleman just here, sir, you have the floor, please.
Hi, Tomohiro Deguchi with Kyodo, Japanese Newswire. You, as a Korean trade official, have led the trade dispute between Japan on the semiconductor material issue, which started last year. And there has been a harsh dispute between Japan and Korea. But since WTO is a consensus-based organization, do you think you can get the support from Japan as well? Thank you.
Regarding your question, I would first like to state that I am here not as a representative of Korea, but as a candidate for the next DG at the WTO. Having said that, I would also like to refrain from commenting on the ongoing disputes because that should be dealt with in accordance with the relevant procedures and relevant rules under the WTO. Having said that, I would like to emphasize that Korea and Japan, we both share the understanding that we need to promote, maintain, promote, and enhance the multilateral trading system. Both of us are beneficiaries from the multilateral trading system and the WTO. And with the WTO in crisis, it's all the more important to work hard together to save and promote the WTO. And on multilateral fronts, actually, Korea and Japan, we have been cooperating on a lot of issues at the multilateral fora. So I'm confident that Japan will also look at the candidates. When they actually look at the candidates to Japan, what's almost important is the persons, the candidates' competence and capability to save and enhance the WTO and also to take WTO reform. So in that regard, I will reach out to Japanese colleagues and will present my vision for the WTO. And I'm confident they will also approach this issue rather than in the perspectives from the perspectives of the disputes, but from the perspectives of saving and promoting the multilateral trading system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to WebEx again and going back to Washington, D.C. and Doug Palmer of Politico. Doug, you have the floor, please.
Hi, thanks very much. This is Doug Palmer with Politico. I have two questions. One, I've heard from an analyst that there is some concern that China might block your candidacy because it would be concerned about giving up one of the Deputy Director-General seats. I guess there's this idea that there needs to be a balance between the DGs and the four Deputy Director-Generals, a regional balance. And then secondly, I just wonder, what do you feel about, what is your position on the issue of whether it's time for a woman to lead the WTO? If you're not selected, do you believe one of the two other women candidates should be selected?
Thank you very much. It would be inappropriate for me to openly comment on the position of other countries. So I have not heard of the China's position that you just mentioned, and also I would not comment on it because it's up to them to decide and comment on them. Having said that, Korea and China, we both believe in the importance of multilateral trading system, and we work together on that front. And as I mentioned before, I was posted to Beijing, Korean embassy in Beijing for 3 years, and also as a chief negotiator, I finalized Korea-China FTA. I concluded Korea-US FTA amendment negotiations as chief negotiator, but at the same time, I finalized Korea-China FTA as chief negotiator. So I have built a really good, long working relationship with China, and I will be reaching out to them to present my vision for the WTO so that we can work together to save and promote the WTO. And I believe that with the WTO in crisis, facing a profound crisis, they would also think that what's almost important at this point of time is to have the competent candidate, competent DG at the WTO. And your second question is about the female DG. Well, I would say that, in my government, for the last 25 years, I have been a pioneer in my field, always, as the first female to hold a certain position, and also as the first trade minister of Korea. But still, I have not been evaluated, assessed based on my gender. I have been assessed and evaluated based on the merits and on the achievements that I have made so far, and that's how I could be promoted to the trade minister. And in this situation, I would also say that when the WTO is facing a profound crisis, an existential crisis with all its three pillars under stress, what's almost important is to find the person who can actually deliver on the mandate and who can actually achieve WTO reform and make it WTO more relevant, resilient, and responsive. Having said that, I believe all the three women candidates at this selection process, they look all qualified, and I'm going to speak just now about myself, and I am confident that I have the expertise and experience and also wide-ranging network built up for the last 25 years in my negotiations with various countries and diverse countries around the world. So I believe that based on the qualifications, I'm confident I could take on this challenge and could complete the mission successfully. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have time for one more question. We're going to go to WebEx again, and it's Ayana Dreyer from Borderlex. Ayana, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Keith. Minister Yoo, I'm Yana Dreyer from Borderlex. You talked at the very beginning and repeated that the WTO needs to be relevant again. So, so I presume, and could you clarify what this means concretely in terms of new topics potentially, or a more modernizing agenda? But another question related to that is, how do you bring on board major members who do not necessarily share that view in the WTO? We think that all things need to be tackled and addressed and finalized, such as in agriculture, and have different views compared to the majority on issues such as the e-commerce moratorium. How are you going to bring those countries on board? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. When I stated that WTO needs to be relevant, first, WTO needs to revitalize its negotiating function. And also, even if you have a perfect agreements and perfect rules, if you cannot enforce it, it's not going to be effective. So second, we need to restore well-functioning dispute settlement system. But I'm going to focus on the revitalizing the negotiating function first. The rules that we have in the WTO right now are agreed upon 25 years ago, or more than 25 years ago. 25 years ago, we didn't even have this all wonderful digital world that we are now making most of. Given the 21st century realities that business and societies face every day, I believe it's about time for the WTO to reinvent itself, to update its rulebook, to make it relevant to the business and to actually achieve something that can have real impacts on the business. So in terms of the updating the rulebook, what I have in mind is e-commerce, but members are also discussing some other joint statement initiatives such as MSMEs or investment facilitation. So it's up to members. What I would like to highlight is that we should be open to new emerging issues and new emerging agenda items. Having said that, I also understand there are some outstanding issues which was included in the DDA, including agriculture, and members might have divergent views on how to move forward on the agriculture. Some of the easy issues were already harvested in Bali package or Nairobi package, but still it seems that members need to have further discussions on agriculture to actually reach consensus. And how do I bring them to the negotiating table? I think the starting point should be fisheries subsidies. Because as I said before, when we can actually achieve some multilateral agreements after long years of stalled negotiations, they can build the momentum to tackle more difficult and structural issues, including agriculture, or including e-commerce, or all other issues that members are currently still discussing. So having said that, I would say that I will work hard and make utmost efforts to produce a tangible outcome, the multilateral trading agreements at the WTO. Thank you.
Minister Yoo, we thank you very much for your participation, and thanks to all of you who are here in person and participating via WebEx. Before I sign off, I'd like to just add one thing. Please do not block the way as Minister Yoo leaves along the right-hand side here. If you'd like to catch up with her or her colleagues, you may do so in the members' lounge directly above this room here, S1. The next press conference will be in 1 hour at 6:30. Thank you all very much.